Grab your phone, lock your door, and turn the volume all the way up, because the internet has officially caught fire and the smoke is coming straight out of one of the most toxic households in modern celebrity culture. What you are about to hear is not a rumor, it is not a whisper, and it is not one of those recycled blog stories that gets dressed up to look bigger than it actually is. This is a full-blown, receipts on the table, video evidence attached implosion, and by the time we finish today, you're going to understand exactly why the dark-skinned women of this culture are done, dusted, deleted, and drafting a group text about it. Because Chrisean Rock just opened her mouth on a live stream and said something so unhinged, so backwards, and so laced with pseudo-spiritual poison that even the people who used to defend her are now quietly logging off, changing their usernames, and pretending they never wore that pink braid wig for Halloween. And before we get 1 inch deeper, do me a favor. Tap that like button right now, because I need every single dark-skinned woman, every ally, every auntie, and every person who is tired of watching this generational sickness get passed around like a family heirloom to stand up and be counted. This is not a normal video. This is a receipt reading, a family tree shaking, a mirror-holding kind of broadcast, and if you make it to the end, you are going to walk away with a completely different picture of what the Karlissa Saffold circus has been feeding the internet for the last 5 years. Now, let me set the stage, because context is everything and I refuse to skip a single step. Chrisean Rock hopped on her live stream, cameras rolling, chat active, thousands watching in real time, and she decided that the appropriate use of her platform in the year of our current calendar was to deliver a theological verdict on melanin. She said, and I want you to hear this in her exact voice before you hear it in mine, that when you are grounded in Christ, everything that is meant for you is meant for you. So if you were born dark-skinned, you were born to go through what you were supposed to go through. Read that sentence again. Then read it once more. Because Chrisean Rock just took the pulpit, opened up a Bible she has clearly never read, and used it as a hammer to nail dark-skinned women to a cross they never asked to carry. She essentially told millions of people that God assigns hardship by skin tone, that being born dark is a divine sentence, and that the struggle of dark-skinned black women is not systemic, not cultural, not the product of centuries of colonial residue, but the will of a heavenly Father who apparently was doing complexion-based casting the day they were born. My jaw is not on the floor, my jaw is in the basement of the basement, because this is not accidental ignorance. This is coordinated cruelty dressed up in a choir robe. And here is where the plot thickens, because the timing of what Chrisean Rock said is not random. Nothing about this rollout is accidental. Chrisean Rock did not wake up one morning, feel the Holy Spirit, and decide to freestyle a colorism sermon. No. This statement dropped in the immediate aftermath of a viral clip involving her longtime toxic counterpart, Blueface, and if you have not seen the Blueface clip yet, buckle in, because we are about to walk through it frame by frame. Blueface was hosting a live stream inside his vehicle, cameras rolling, group of people in the back, music playing, and he pulled a dark-skinned young woman into the frame and looked her dead in the eye and told her that she had, quote, good dark skin. Good dark skin. Let those 2 words sit in your chest for a second. Good dark skin. Because language matters, and every dark-skinned woman watching this right now already knows what that phrase means before I even unpack it. The word good, deployed as a modifier in front of the phrase dark skin, is a linguistic confession. It is Blueface admitting on his own livestream that the baseline for dark skin in his mind is bad, that dark skin is a category that requires qualification, that a dark-skinned woman must be graded, ranked, and approved before she is allowed to receive a compliment. It is the backhanded microaggression of the century, and the young woman he said it to caught it in real time. She did not blink. She did not stutter. She looked him in his face and called him a colorist, and the way Blueface reacted told us everything we needed to know about the emotional infrastructure of this man. Because instead of apologizing, instead of clarifying, instead of taking one single microgram of accountability, Blueface lost his mind. He escalated. He raised his voice. He called her dumb. He called her friend stupid. And then, in a moment that should have every single person in this culture demanding consequences, Blueface ordered his driver to pull over on the side of a highway at 4 o'clock in the morning and physically eject 2 dark-skinned women out of the vehicle. For in the morning. On a highway. Because she used her voice. Because she named the behavior. Because she refused to swallow the insult with a smile. Let me repeat that so it registers with the weight it deserves. Blueface put a dark-skinned black woman's physical safety in direct jeopardy on the side of a public highway in the middle of the night. And the only reason it happened is because she was dark-skinned and refused to perform gratitude for a compliment that was never a compliment. If she had been light-skinned, that combo of insult and abandonment does not happen. Full stop. Period. End of debate. Now hold that thought, because we have not even reached the worst part yet. The worst part is not Blueface. The worst part is not even Chrisean Rock. The worst part is the woman who raised them both to think this behavior is acceptable, and her name is Karlissa Saffold, Blueface's mother, and Karlissa decided that watching her grown son abandon a dark-skinned woman on a highway was not embarrassing enough. So she hopped onto social media and co-signed the entire assault with a comment that should be studied in psychology textbooks for the next 50 years. Karlissa wrote, and I am quoting her directly, that Blueface said, "I love your skin," that it is not his fault she does not, that people just do not like her son, and that if he had called the woman a fine red bone, the light bright would have lit up. The light bright would have lit up. Sit with that. Karlissa, a dark-skinned woman herself, publicly declared that if her son had complimented a light-skinned woman using the terminology red bone, that woman would have accepted the compliment with joy. And therefore the dark-skinned woman is the problem for having self-esteem. This is not just enabling. This is not just deflection. This is a masterclass in generational colorism being handed down from a mother to a son to a girlfriend to a global audience, and the audience is finally beginning to reject the delivery. Now let me pause here and speak directly to the elephant in the room. Chrisean Rock has spent years cultivating a fan base that is overwhelmingly composed of the very demographic she just insulted. The Chrisean Rock fan base, the ones who bought the merch, streamed the songs, defended her through the physical altercations, defended her through the on-camera meltdowns, defended her through the erratic parenting displays. That fan base is disproportionately dark-skinned black women. And Chrisean Rock just told them, on a live broadcast, that their skin is a divine punishment. Chrisean Rock just told the people who kept her career alive that God ordained them to suffer because of the melanin in their cheeks. If that is what Chrisean Rock is willing to say on camera, imagine what Chrisean Rock is saying off camera. Imagine what Chrisean Rock is muttering when the microphone is off, when the live stream ends, when the phone is face down on the counter. Because there is a rule in this culture, an unspoken rule, that the things people say when they think nobody is listening are the truest things they will ever say, and Chrisean Rock has now confirmed on tape what a lot of us already suspected in our bones. And here is where I need to say something that a lot of commentators are too afraid to say. Chrisean Rock and Blueface are both lighter-skinned individuals who have built their entire platforms on the backs of dark-skinned women who kept clicking, kept commenting, kept sharing, kept defending. And now that the platform is built, now that the checks are cleared, now that the tours are booked and the streaming numbers are up, Chrisean Rock and Blueface have decided that the audience that funded the mansion is beneath the mansion. This is the oldest playbook in the entertainment industry. Get the loyalty of the marginalized, cash the loyalty in for capital, and then use the capital to build a stage from which you can look down on the very people who handed you the microphone. And every single time it happens, we act surprised. We should not be surprised anymore. We should be organized. Now the curtain just dropped on something bigger than these three individuals, and I want you to follow me carefully because this is the part that connects the dots. What Chrisean Rock said, what Blueface did, and what Karlissa co-signed are not three separate incidents. They are one incident, spread across three mouths, in the same household, in the same weekend, targeting the same demographic. That is not a coincidence. That is a coordinated broadcast of belief. That is a family that sits at the dinner table or the live stream setup and rehearses this worldview in private until it comes flowing out in public. Because you do not accidentally say what Chrisean Rock said. You do not accidentally do what Blueface did. You do not accidentally type what Karlissa typed. These are practiced positions. These are studied responses. This is a household worldview being exported to millions of impressionable viewers under the guise of entertainment, and the entertainment is what makes it dangerous, because entertainment lowers the guard, and once the guard is down, the poison goes straight to the bloodstream. And the internet has responded with the fury this moment deserves. The comment sections are scorched earth. The quote tweets are relentless. The reaction videos are stacking up by the hour. Commentators are pointing out, correctly, that if Chrisean Rock genuinely believed her own theology, she would not be complaining about the hardships in her own life, because by her own logic, those hardships are divinely assigned. If Chrisean Rock is going to weaponize scripture against dark-skinned women, then Chrisean Rock has to accept the same scripture being weaponized back at her, and the internet is not letting her wiggle out of that logical trap. She built the box. She stepped in the box. She locked the box from the inside. And now the box is trending. Peep this next layer, because it goes deeper. Karlissa's defense of her son was not just enabling, it was projection at industrial scale. Karlissa took the accusation off her son and pinned it on the victim by suggesting that the dark-skinned woman only rejected the compliment because she is insecure about her own skin. That is a specific psychological maneuver called victim inversion, and it is the same maneuver used by every abuser in every generation to keep the victim quiet and the perpetrator protected. Karlissa did not defend her son with facts. She defended him with a rhetorical trapdoor designed to trap the victim in her own self-perception. And the sickest part, the part that keeps me up at night, is that Karlissa herself is dark-skinned. Karlissa lived a life inside the same skin she is now teaching her son to disrespect. Karlissa knows exactly what it feels like to be on the receiving end of a good dark skin compliment, and instead of using that lived knowledge to protect the next generation of dark-skinned women, Karlissa is using it to launder her son's cruelty into acceptability. That is not motherhood. That is complicity in a family uniform. And I want to address the Chrisean Rock defenders directly, because I know you are watching, I know you are typing, and I know your fingers are hovering over the comment section right now. I understand why you defended her for so long. I understand the parasocial attachment. I understand seeing yourself in her chaos and rooting for her recovery. I have empathy for that. Real empathy. But empathy has a ceiling, and Chrisean Rock just headbutt that ceiling straight through the roof. When a public figure with millions of followers uses a live stream to tell dark-skinned women that God assigned them a life sentence of suffering, that is the moment the parasocial contract terminates. That is the moment the support becomes indefensible. That is the moment when continuing to defend her makes you complicit in the harm she is broadcasting. And I am not saying that to guilt-trip you. I am saying that to free you. You are allowed to withdraw your support. You are allowed to unsubscribe. You are allowed to change your mind. Growth is not a betrayal of your former self. Growth is the fulfillment of your former self. Rewind that for a second, because I want to zoom in on the exact phrasing Chrisean Rock used, because language is where the truth hides. Chrisean Rock said, quote, "If you was born dark-skinned, you was born to go through what you were supposed to go through." Notice the phrasing. Notice the fatalism. Notice the total absence of agency. Chrisean Rock is not merely acknowledging that dark-skinned women face additional hardships. She is doing something far more insidious. She is metaphysically endorsing those hardships. She is telling dark-skinned women that the pain is not just inevitable, it is appropriate. It is deserved. It is scripted. And that is the most spiritually violent thing a person can say to another human being, because it strips them of the right to resist their own suffering. If the suffering is divine, then resistance is blasphemy. If the pain is ordained, then healing is disobedience. Chrisean Rock did not just insult dark-skinned women. Chrisean Rock tried to build a theological cage around them. And Blueface, from a completely different live stream, in a completely different vehicle, on a completely different night, was building the physical version of that same cage. Blueface literally locked a dark-skinned woman inside a car until she performed gratitude, and when she refused, he ejected her into a highway. The parallel is not subtle. Chrisean Rock built the spiritual prison. Blueface built the physical one. Karlissa laid the emotional foundation both of them poured their concrete on top of. This is a family construction project, and the building material is black women's dignity. That is why the internet is not letting this one slide. That is why every reaction video is stacking views. That is why every comment section is turning into a town hall. Because we finally see the blueprint, and once you see the blueprint, you cannot unsee it. Now the plot thickens even more, because let us talk about the receipts inside the receipts. Chrisean Rock has a documented pattern. This is not a first offense. This is not a slip of the tongue. This is not a moment being taken out of context. Chrisean Rock has been caught on camera calling dark-skinned women broken. Chrisean Rock has been caught on camera calling dark-skinned women ugly. Chrisean Rock has been caught on camera saying dark-skinned women have fat noses. Chrisean Rock has been caught on camera saying dark-skinned women look like a dot. Chrisean Rock has been caught on camera claiming that dark-skinned women are jealous of everyone else. This is not one bad night. This is a body of work. This is a portfolio. This is a curriculum. And every time one of these clips resurfaced, the fanbase closed ranks, blamed the mental health struggles, blamed the childhood trauma, blamed the toxic relationship with Blueface, and gave her another chance. But at some point, the chances have to be earned, not just extended. And Chrisean Rock has not earned a single one. And I want to be crystal clear about something, because I do not want anybody twisting my words in the comments. Nobody on this channel is celebrating anyone's downfall for the sake of celebrating a downfall. This is not schadenfreude. This is accountability. There is a difference. Celebrating a downfall means enjoying suffering for its own sake. Accountability means demanding that public actions have public consequences. Chrisean Rock chose the platform. Chrisean Rock chose the microphone. Chrisean Rock chose the live stream. And with those choices comes the responsibility to be held to the standard those choices imply. If you want the applause of the audience when the content is fun, you have to accept the criticism of the audience when the content is harmful. That is not cancel culture. That is contract culture. That is the exchange rate of public life. And now let us talk about the light bright loyalists, because they are already assembling in the replies. There is a subset of the audience, and you know exactly who I am talking about, that will read Karlissa's red bone comment and see nothing wrong with it. There is a subset that will watch Blueface eject a dark-skinned woman from a car and say she was being disrespectful. There is a subset that will hear Chrisean Rock's theological indictment and nod along like they just heard a sermon. That subset exists. And every time we have a conversation like this, that subset gets exposed. That subset gets named. That subset gets held up to the light. And I want you to pay attention to who defends Karlissa in the comments below, because those comments are the receipts of the receipts. Those comments are the archive. Those comments are the confession booth. And the internet has a very long memory. Now the enabler choir is going to try to reframe this. They're going to say Chrisean Rock did not mean it that way. They're going to say Blueface was joking. They're going to say Karlissa was defending her son the way any mother would. That is the script. I already know the script. But the script does not survive the video evidence. The script does not survive the transcripts. The script does not survive the pattern. And the pattern is what convicts them, because a single incident can be a misunderstanding, a double incident can be a coincidence, but a triple incident across 3 family members in the same news cycle is a worldview. And worldviews are not accidents. Worldviews are chosen. Worldviews are practiced. Worldviews are exported. And the worldview being exported by this household is one that dark-skinned women should reject, refuse, and remove from their timelines permanently. Let me tell you something, because I want you to walk away from this video with more than outrage. Outrage without action is just noise. And I refuse to make noise for the sake of noise. So here is what I want every dark-skinned woman watching this to take with them today. Your skin is not a divine punishment. Your skin is a divine inheritance. Every shade you carry is a record of resilience, a signature of survival, and a testimony that your ancestors refused to be erased. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not Chrisean Rock, not Blueface, not Karlissa, not the light bright loyalists in the comments, not the entire enabler choir combined, gets to tell you that your skin was assigned to you as a sentence. Your skin was gifted to you as a crown. And if the crown is heavy sometimes, it is not because God made a mistake. It is because the crown is real, and real crowns have weight, and weight is the price of royalty. Chrisean Rock will never understand that. Blueface will never understand that. Karlissa will never understand that. But you understand it. And that is why you are winning even when they are trending. And here is the part that is going to sting the rocktards the most, because I promised you a mirror, and I am about to hold it up. The dark-skinned women who kept Chrisean Rock's career alive are not going to leave quietly. They are going to leave loudly. They are going to unsubscribe. They are going to unfollow. They are going to stop streaming. They are going to stop buying. They are going to stop defending. And when the metrics start dropping, when the tour dates get canceled, when the sponsorships go silent, when the algorithm stops pushing the content, Chrisean Rock is going to look around and wonder where everybody went. And the answer is going to be simple. They went home. They went to therapy. They went to protect their peace. They went to invest in creators who invest in them. They went to build community with people who actually love them back. And Chrisean Rock is going to be left in a room full of the light bright loyalists she thought she wanted, and she is going to realize, too late, that they were never going to fund the mansion. Only the dark-skinned women were doing that. And the dark-skinned women just quit. And here is a moment that deserves its own paragraph, because it is that important. Blueface put a dark-skinned black woman on the side of a highway at 4 in the morning. Let that sentence live in your chest for the rest of the day. Because in this culture, in this country, in this world, a dark-skinned black woman on the side of a highway at 4 in the morning is a horror movie waiting to happen. And Blueface did not just create that scenario. Blueface celebrated that scenario. Blueface laughed at that scenario. And then Blueface bragged about that scenario on his own live stream. That is not misogyny in the abstract. That is misogynoir on video. That is anti-blackness on video. That is colorism on video. And every attorney, every advocate, every organization that claims to care about the safety of black women needs to see that clip and respond accordingly. Because a public figure with a documented history of violence against women just added another chapter to that history, and the chapter was live-streamed for engagement metrics. Now let us come back to Chrisean Rock's theology, because I am not done unpacking it. Chrisean Rock said, "Everything meant for you is meant for you." On the surface, that sounds like a Pinterest quote. But under the surface, it is a doctrine of resignation. It is a philosophy that tells dark-skinned women to stop fighting, stop advocating, stop demanding better, because whatever is happening is what is supposed to happen. That is not Christianity. That is not spirituality. That is not enlightenment. That is spiritual anesthesia. That is a sedative dressed up in scripture. And it is the same sedative that has been prescribed to black women for centuries by preachers, employers, politicians, and partners who benefit from black women being still, being quiet, and being obedient. Chrisean Rock did not invent this rhetoric. Chrisean Rock inherited it. And now Chrisean Rock is passing it forward to a new generation, and that generation deserves better than the recycled poison of a woman who cannot even spell the theology she is misquoting. And I know some of you are asking, what about grace? What about forgiveness? What about the possibility that Chrisean Rock could learn and grow? And I hear you. I really do. Grace is real. Forgiveness is real. Growth is real. But grace is not the same as amnesia. Forgiveness is not the same as a subscription. Growth is not the same as a pass. Chrisean Rock can grow all she wants, but that growth has to happen on her own time, on her own dime, and off the necks of the dark-skinned women she has been standing on. The audience does not owe her the runway. The audience does not owe her the patience. The audience does not owe her the platform. If she wants to change, let her change quietly, off camera, in the mirror, in therapy, in a journal, in a prayer she actually reads before she quotes. And then, maybe, after years of documented private repair, she can come back and ask for a reintroduction. But until then, the exit is clearly marked, and the audience is walking through it. And let us not forget Karlissa in all of this, because Karlissa keeps trying to insert herself into these conversations as the wise family matriarch, and the internet keeps having to remind her that matriarchy is a role you earn, not a title you assign yourself. A real matriarch would have pulled Blueface aside and told him that treating a black woman that way is unacceptable. A real matriarch would have deleted the red bone comment before hitting post. A real matriarch would have used her platform to model the accountability she wants the world to give her son. Instead, Karlissa doubled down. Karlissa cosigned. Karlissa poured gasoline on a fire her own son lit inside a car she raised him to drive. That is not matriarchy. That is enabling with a manicure. And every dark-skinned woman who ever tried to have a hard conversation with her own mother recognizes this pattern immediately, because we have all been Karlissa's audience at some point, and we all know how exhausting it is to love someone who refuses to grow. Now the curtain is really pulling back, because here is what nobody in mainstream media is saying out loud. This entire Porter-Saffold family unit has been trauma monetizing for years. The live dreams, the fights, the pregnancies, the breakups, the reconciliations, the arrests, the tears, the tattoos, all of it has been packaged, produced, and distributed as content. And the audience that consumed the content most loyally was black women, because black women have been culturally trained to root for redemption arcs, especially when the woman at the center of the storm reminds us of somebody we love in real life. That empathy has been the fuel. That empathy has been the currency. And Chrisean Rock, Blueface, and Karlissa have been cashing that empathy in for years without ever once returning the deposit. This week, the deposit came due. This week, the audience asked for its money back. And the response from the family was to insult the customer. And I want to address something that has been sitting in my throat for the entire video, because it needs to be said. The reason this hurts so much is not because we expected better from Chrisean Rock. Honestly, a lot of us stopped expecting anything from Chrisean Rock a long time ago. The reason this hurts is because it confirms what dark-skinned women have been trying to explain for decades. That the colorism inside our own community is not a fringe issue, it is not a rare occurrence, it is not a relic of the past. It is alive. It is broadcast. It is monetized. And it comes from mouths we thought were on our side. That is the sting. That is the wound. That is the reason the comment sections are on fire. Because every dark-skinned woman watching this video has heard some version of Chrisean Rock's speech before, in her family, in her workplace, in her relationship, in her church. And to see it dressed up in a wig and delivered to millions is to see the everyday wound go global. And global wounds require global responses. So here is the assignment, and I do not give assignments lightly. The assignment is threefold, and I need every single person watching this to accept at least one of the three. Number 1. If you have ever contributed to Chrisean Rock's streams, her merch, her tour tickets, her sponsorships, redirect that money this month toward a dark-skinned creator, a dark-skinned business, or a dark-skinned nonprofit. Money is memory. Money is priority. Money speaks the loudest language a public figure understands. Number 2. If you see the light-bright loyalists in the comment section trying to reframe this, do not scroll past. Correct the record. Cite the receipts. Refuse to let the revisionism take root. Number 3. If you are a dark-skinned woman watching this and something inside you has been rattled loose by everything Chrisean Rock said, please talk to somebody. A therapist. A friend. A group chat. A journal. Do not let her words settle into your body. Words like hers were designed to break something in you, and the antidote is not silence. The antidote is testimony. Speak. Write. Post. Text somebody who gets it. Do not carry it alone. And now here is the part one I've been saving for last, because I want it to land with the full weight it deserves. The dark-skinned women of this culture are not the audience for this behavior. The dark-skinned women of this culture are the reason the behavior has an audience at all. Every clap, every stream, every download, every share, every quote tweet, every reaction video, every hashtag has been powered by the very women being insulted, and the moment those women decide to withdraw that power, the entire economy of Chrisean Rock, Blueface, and Karlissa collapses overnight. That is not a threat. That is math. That is the actual arithmetic of internet celebrity in this era. The audience is the algorithm. The audience is the tour. The audience is the sponsorship. And the audience just heard, in real time, that the family they have been funding thinks the funders are divinely assigned to suffer. If that is not the moment the money moves, I do not know what is. I want to leave you with one final thought before we wrap this broadcast, because I know a lot of you have been holding your breath the entire time and you need a moment to exhale. Chrisean Rock is going to try to walk this back. Watch for it. She is going to post an apology video, or a Bible verse, or a photo with a black baby, or a collab with a dark-skinned artist, or a tearful livestream where she explains that she was misunderstood. Watch for all of it. And when it comes, remember that apologies without behavior change are just marketing. Remember that Bible verses without action are just decoration. Remember that photo ops without policy are just performance. Chrisean Rock has a very predictable playbook, and the playbook always ends with the audience being asked to give her another chance. The question is not whether she will ask. The question is whether we will say yes. And this time, for the first time in a long time, I am watching the internet lean toward no. That is progress. That is growth. That is the audience remembering that the audience has power. Blueface is going to try the same thing, and it is going to be even more transparent when he does it. He is going to post a photo with a dark-skinned model, or a caption about how he loves black women, or a stream where he claims the girl in the car was drunk, or a lawyer's statement about how the video was taken out of context. Watch for all of it. Because the Blueface playbook has always been simple. Do something atrocious, wait one news cycle, deflect with humor, wait one more news cycle, and then release something musical or dramatic to change the subject. That has worked for him for years. It might not work this time. Because this time, the receipts were live-streamed. The receipts were time-stamped. The receipts came with witnesses. And the receipts were paired with a matching statement from his mother and his ex, which turns 3 separate incidents into one unified indictment. That indictment is harder to escape than any single controversy has ever been. Blueface has walked out of a lot of situations. This one is going to require more than a walk. This one is going to require a reckoning. And Karlissa is going to do what Karlissa always does. She is going to log on. She is going to make a video. She is going to say the internet is bullying her family. She is going to invoke motherhood. She is going to invoke Christianity. She is going to invoke her lived experience as a dark-skinned woman. And she is going to try to use all of those invocations as a shield. But shields only work if the person holding them has integrity. And Karlissa forfeited her shield the moment she typed the phrase red bone with pride. There is no one ringing that bell. There is no one writing that comment. There is no one posting that endorsement. Karlissa laid her cards on the table, and the table saw exactly what she was playing. So when she comes back with the maternal defense, remember what she said about dark-skinned women and refuse to let the maternal cosplay wash the receipt. Before I let you go, I want to name something the algorithm might try to bury. There are going to be creators, some big, some small, some with agendas, who try to make this story about Chrisean Rock's mental health, or Blueface legal history, or Karlissa's difficult upbringing, and use those framings as a laundromat for the colorism. Do not let them. The mental health of the perpetrator is not the responsibility of the victim. The legal history of the perpetrator is not an excuse for the current harm. The difficult upbringing of the perpetrator is not a permission slip for generational abuse. Every one of us has been through something. Every one of us has inherited pain. And the vast majority of us find a way to carry that pain without dumping it onto strangers with darker skin than ours. If Chrisean Rock cannot manage that basic requirement of adulthood, then Chrisean Rock does not deserve the platform she was handed. And that is not cruelty. That is the standard. And the standard has to apply evenly, or it is not a standard at all. Flood the comment section right now. Tell me exactly which part of this hit you hardest. Tell me if you have ever heard something like Chrisean Rock's speech in your own family, in your own workplace, in your own relationship. Tell me if you are a dark-skinned woman who is done funding people who resent you. Tell me if you are a light-skinned woman who wants to stand in solidarity and does not know where to start. Tell me if you are a black man who is ready to speak up when Blueface and men like him treat our sisters like disposable content. Tell me all of it. Because this comment section is not just a comment section tonight. This comment section is a town hall, a therapy circle, a family reunion, and a courthouse all rolled into one. And I promise you, I read every single one, and the culture reads every single one, and the algorithm reads every single one. Your voice matters more than you know. Hit that like button one more time if you made it all the way here, because you deserve credit for staying present through a heavy conversation. Share this broadcast with the group chat that needs to hear it, especially the aunties, the cousins, the sisters, the coworkers, and the friend who always says colorism is not a real issue anymore. Subscribe if you are new, because the coverage on this channel is going to stay consistent, unflinching, and rooted in accountability for the people who deserve to be held. And the next time Chrisean Rock, Blueface, or Karlissa opens a mouth, a live stream, or a comment section, we will be here, receipts warm, notes ready, and dark-skinned black women protected first, last, and always. I am wrapping this up here, but the conversation does not end when the video does. The conversation is just beginning. Watch the next video on the screen right now, because there is another story breaking tonight that ties directly into this one, and you are not going to want to miss what the internet just uncovered. Peace, protection, and power to every dark-skinned black woman watching. I will catch you on the very next broadcast.